The air above the Giza plateau was thick, not just with the heat of the noon sun, but with the dust of 10 million tons of limestone. For 2 decades, the world's most ambitious project had consumed the breath and labor of Egypt. Now it stood complete, a mountain of perfect geometry, shimmering white, its peak aiming the spirit of the Pharaoh Khufu directly into the celestial river. The Great Pyramid, the horizon of Khufu, waited. Seti, the royal inspector of stone and scribe of the great work, stood at the base, his linen robe already clinging to his skin. He was not a stonemason, but a man of balance, weights, and measures. His duty this day was the most solemn and terrifying of his life. The final, absolute inspection of the interior chambers, one last passage before the pharaoh's body was interred and the tomb sealed forever. He carried a single flickering oil lamp, its meager light swallowed by the echoing darkness of the structure. Seti entered the pyramid through the original narrow entrance, following the descending passage. The air immediately grew cool, smelling of millennia-old stone and the oil of ancient torches. He began the tight, sloping climb of the grand gallery. This passage was a marvel, not just of scale, but of engineering audacity. It rose 60 feet high, its corbelled roof seeming to defy the crushing weight of the core masonry above. As he climbed, Seti ran his hand over the fine-grained Tura limestone. "They call us slaves," he muttered to the darkness, recalling the whispers of foreign merchants. "They do not know." He remembered the organized flow of the true builders, the highly skilled permanent workers housed in the massive workers' town, the seasonal farmers who arrived during the annual inundation of the Nile, eager for good food and the honor of contributing their effort to the God-King. He remembered the vast, meticulous operations, the granite quarried a full 500 miles away in Aswan, shipped down the Nile on great barges, and dragged up temporary lubricated ramps to the required height. It was an act of faith, logistics, and national unity, not misery. The pyramid was built by tens of thousands of skilled Egyptian laborers, craftsmen, and farmers, organized by the viziers like the legendary Hemiunu, whose shadow still loomed over the stones. Seti finally reached the king's chamber, a sterile rectangular box of red Aswan granite. The precision was astounding. The granite blocks, weighing up to 50 tons, were fitted together with seams less than the width of a hair. Above his head were the 5 relieving chambers, designed to take the immense pressure off the burial room, a testament to Hemiunu's cold, calculating genius. But Hemiunu's genius, Seti knew, was often laced with deep, almost obsessive secrecy. Seti turned his attention to a small, almost imperceptible discoloration near the northern wall, just above the opening of the air shaft. He pressed his lamp closer. The discoloration resolved into a faint, carved symbol, a single downward-pointing chevron, the sign for descend or hidden. He placed his hand on the cool stone. His fingers brushed against a shallow indent, barely wide enough for a scroll. His heart hammered. He thought of the pyramidion, the missing capstone, likely pure electrum or gold, which had been prepared and then inexplicably vanished from the inventory lists just before the final casing stones were laid. Seti found a small rolled-up papyrus hidden in the indent. It was not a curse, but a single cryptic instruction written in Hemiunu's own hand. "When the Great One rests and the white mountain is sealed, the eye must witness the truth of the heavens, not the earth. Go up. The zenith awaits." The zenith? Seti looked up. The true peak of the pyramid, the place where the golden pyramidion should have rested. The main structure was complete, but the very top was unreachable now, save for the dangerous scramble up the final few steps. Seti realized the horrifying possibility. Hemiunu, anticipating the ravages of time, had hidden something of ultimate importance, a second final safeguard in the pyramidion or its base. If the core structure was simply a vehicle for the pharaoh's soul, what was so precious that it was placed beyond the pharaoh's body? Seti gripped the lamp. He had to know before the final ceremony began. The question burned in his mind, echoing off the granite walls. What object did the great vizier Hemiunu hide in the darkness, and why did he risk his life to conceal its purpose from all, even the pharaoh's priests? Ignoring the rising fear, Seti left the king's chamber. He descended the main passage and found a hidden service shaft, a dizzying, narrow space used by the workers to escape after placing the ceiling plugs. Seti, old and heavy, squeezed into the tight passage. He emerged from the shaft exit onto the rough, tiered steps of the pyramid's outer structure, high above the plateau. The wind howled a deafening roar. He had to climb the final 30 feet of exposed blocks to the summit platform. The white casing stones had already been sealed up the sides, leaving a precarious, shrinking square at the top. The sun was dipping toward the Libyan desert, painting the stone gold and crimson. He scrambled, his sandals slipping on the coarse blocks, his arms scraped raw. Finally, he reached the small, flat platform where the base of the pyramidion should have been mortared. The golden capstone was indeed gone, but in its place, sunk into the center of the platform block, was a perfectly crafted cavity, sized exactly to hold a man's forearm. It was empty. Seti fell to his knees, utterly defeated. Hemiunu's secret was gone. Yet the message had said, "The eye must witness the truth of the heavens." Seti looked down. The cavity was empty, but along the inner edge, something was etched, almost invisibly. A single line of text, a final instruction. When the light of the setting sun touches this stone, the true purpose will be revealed. Look to the shadow. The last rays of the sun, long and attenuated, finally hit the platform. As the shadow of the man-made mountain stretched eastward across the desert, the cavity Seti was kneeling beside suddenly seemed to shimmer. He reached into the hole. His fingers closed around something smooth and cold that was resting beneath the stone. It wasn't metal or granite. It was glass. Seti lifted the object, a perfectly polished, flawless, spherical lens of crystal quartz the size of a man's fist. He held it up to the last dying light, and as the light passed through the quartz, the lens caught the scattered rays and focused them sharply onto a single small point on the flat capstone base. The focused beam hit the stone, causing a small, barely visible piece of quartz inlay in the stone to glow faintly. Seti touched the glowing point. It was a tiny inscription, a dedication. To the great navigator Khufu, may your vision be long and your journey true. The message wasn't for the tomb robbers or for the living. It was for the future. The lens was Hemiunu's gift, a final, beautiful instrument of knowledge hidden at the peak of the greatest geometric structure on Earth. It was an eye, designed not to ward off evil, but to harness the light of the heavens. It was a scientific instrument, a tool of pure geometry, a secret acknowledgement that the true glory of the pyramid lay in its precise mathematical connection to the stars. Seti carefully wrapped the quartz sphere in his linen, sealing the papyrus in his robes. He began the dangerous descent, the secrets of the mountain now weighing heavily on his soul. The ritual would proceed. Khufu would be interred. The white mountain would be sealed. But the sentinel of Khufu, Seti, now knew that the monument was more than a tomb. It was a cosmic observatory, its secrets protected by geometry and light. The answer to the story's question. What object did the great vizier Hemiunu hide in the darkness, and why did he risk his life to conceal its purpose from all, even the pharaoh's priests? Answer. Hemiunu hid a perfectly polished spherical lens of crystal quartz within the base of the missing pyramidion, capstone. He concealed it because it was a profound scientific instrument, a secret acknowledgement of the pyramid's true purpose as a cosmic observatory and navigational marker. By hiding it there, he ensured that if the structure was ever breached and robbed, the most precious item, the truth of their advanced mathematical knowledge, would remain hidden in plain sight, decipherable only by those who understood geometry and the movement of the sun. The eye that needed to witness the truth of the heavens was the lens itself,